as the nation gears up for the polls, which is a few hours away. And TV3 is also going to be covering the elections extensively by monitoring every activity from the political front, the parties, the voters, and even the Electoral Commission's position, and keep you posted and updated as and when the information comes in. According to the president, he just reiterated what the EC chair said, that the country is ready. We hope that you are also ready. Stay with us at 10 p.m. The entire news team will be here to let you know what fourth plan we have for the coverage of the 2016 elections. We are going to take you across the country to see preparedness. Already, some queues have started forming at some polling stations. We have that and more coming up at 10. Stay with TV3.
Hello and good evening to you, and welcome to the Election Command Center. In a few hours from now, more than 15 million eligible voters are expected to cast their ballots in an election that is expected to further consolidate Ghana's experiment with democratic rule. Almost 275 parliamentarians and a president also expected to be elected and to steer the affairs of the country for the next 4 years.
And Ghana has seen 5 credible polls since the inception of the 4th Republican Constitution. It has thus become a byword for stability in the West African sub-region.
Now, from the outset of this campaign season, the Media General Group has been your one-stop shop for election-related news. And on 3news.com, we will tell you more about what's happening across the country tonight. On 3FM, Onua FM, Connect FM, and Akoma FM as well. These stations have become, indeed, the cutting-edge news stations to meet your needs. And tonight, we officially begin our coverage of election 2016. Stay glued to all our platforms as we commence the coverage of voting, which commences in just about 10 hours from now. And absolutely, the countdown is already on. This is your Election Command Center. We take you through the journey of all the critical themes that occupy the front of this particular electioneering period as well. The burner of the national discourse, ranging from the organization of political parties primaries to the profile of candidates of political parties right to the end. Our distinguished anchors will also throw a searchlight on some of the issues that are likely to inform the choice of voters tomorrow. We'll also stay tuned with you until the Electoral Commission declares the victor of this year's presidential polls. We are indeed the specialist. Stay tuned. My name is Akufo-Addo.
And I am Brighton, and I am for. This is the Election Command Center, and we'll tell you more about what's happening right here. And Martin Asiedu-Dartey is also right here. Martin, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Looking very sharp and sharp, and gearing up for the coverage, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is your Election Command Center, as has been reiterated over the last few months. And we are about to shock you with unprecedented coverage of elections here in Ghana. The team is poised. We have men in and around the country. Our soldiers, here is the command center, and our soldiers are all prepared to bring you every development with regard to the elections. And certainly before we wrap up and leave, we will know who the next president is and who the 275 members of parliament would be for the next 4 years here in Ghana. Gentlemen.
Absolutely, and the reason why we are your Election Command Center, Bride, we're not doing this here alone. We're going to cross over to Election Command Center, where our colleagues are standing by to give us a lot more of what's going to be happening at the Command Center. Good evening to you all in the Command Center, if you can hear me. Take it over, Winston, Brighter Sempa, and Stephen Anti, if you can hear me. Take it over.
Good evening. This is the NEF Center of your election coverage, and I'm Stephen Anti here at the Election Command Center. We're going to explore all the issues that will determine who wins, who becomes president come December 7. I'm Stephen Anti.
And of course, my name is Bright Asempa. Together with Stephen Auntie and Winston, we will be bringing you all that you have to know ahead of tomorrow. Of course, we will all be queuing to vote. And Winston, what do you have to say?
So, what factors determine who becomes president of the Republic of Ghana? Case of jobs, economy, power, or issues of health? We'll find out more this evening on your Election Command Center. And I am Winston Amoa.
Of course, your Election Command Center, we will be online, on air, and wherever you are, you can hear us. Let's go back to the News Hub now.
All right, so thank you very much, Stephen N.T. Winston Amoa and Bright Asempa there at the command center. So it's a two-pronged analysis and the coverage of election 2016. It's right here on your election command center. Now let's zoom into some issues this evening and find out exactly what the profile of Ghana has been over the period since we started elections in this country, and the analysis so far going forward, and what the reflection will be going into election 2016, which is just less than 10 hours away from as well. So Martin,
I'm interested in what you make of the entire preparation and the campaign so far.
Well, it's been great. It's been great. I mean, this is what we expected, and getting the politicians to meet the voter, interface with them, and exchange what they think the voter would need to make a choice. I think that has been great, but the decider will be tomorrow morning when polls open at 7.
I used to like Captain Planet, and anytime it is ending, the last statement he makes is, the choice is yours, or the power is yours. And I'm sure the voter is the ultimate decider of who takes the affairs of the country for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. Right. 25 years on, and it's been a journey that we have traveled so far. Let's take you back to the genesis of the whole journey, starting in 1992.
Ghana is the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to attain independence status in 1957. Geographically, Ghana is located in West Africa and is surrounded by mainly Francophone-speaking countries. Ghana borders the Côte d'Ivoire to the west and Togo to the east. In the north, Ghana shares a border with Burkina Faso. The country achieved republican status in 1960, signaling the end of political governance from the colonial power Britain. Ghana's first post-independence leader, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, famously noted that Ghana's independence is meaningless until it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent.
At long last, the battle has ended.
Ghana is the world's second largest cocoa producer, behind Ivory Coast, and Africa's biggest gold miner after South Africa. Ghana has one of Africa's fastest growing economies and has made major progress in the attainment and consolidation of growth. Significant progress has been made in poverty reduction. Ghana is the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to achieve the Millennium Development Goal 1, which is anchored on having extreme poverty. The discovery of major offshore oil reserves was announced in June 2007, encouraging expectations of a major economic boost. Oil production officially began at the end of 2010. Oil production is projected at 102,600 barrels per day, while production is expected to hit 240,000 barrels by 2020. Major languages spoken include English and Ghanaian languages such as Twi, Ga, Hausa and Ewe. Major religions are Christianity, indigenous beliefs, Islam. According to the United Nations, life expectancy for men is 64 years and 66 years for women. Literacy rate is 71.5% of the total population. Male 78.3%, female 65.3%. Monetary unit is cedi. Although foreign currencies, including pound sterling, US and Canadian dollar, are widely used. Main export commodities include gold, cocoa, timber, tuna, bauxite, aluminium, manganese ore, diamond. As of 2011, The World Bank estimates the country's gross national income per capita as $1,410. The country covers an area of 238,533 square kilometers with an estimated population of 27.41 million as at 2015. For the past 2 decades, Ghana has enjoyed increasingly stable and deepening democratic governance. Since the inception of the Fourth Republican Constitution, 4 successive elections in 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2012 has strengthened the effectiveness of key national institutions, enhanced investor confidence, and anchored the new economy in an environment for positive growth. Ghana has a high-profile peacekeeping role. Troops have been deployed in Ivory Coast, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and DR Congo. Ghana enjoys a high degree of media freedom, and the private press and broadcasters operate without significant restrictions.
So that's a brief history of Ghana's political history with respect to elections in this country over the 25-year period. But the Electoral Commission has been dispatching electoral materials to the various constituencies across the country. Ashanti Regional Correspondent William Evans earlier monitored the parliamentary candidates of the New Patriotic Party and the National Democratic Congress for Bantama as they supervise the Commission's deployment of electoral materials to the constituencies.
Here in the Ashanti region, and I must
to get through to William Evans very shortly, but then just as you said, a 25-year down the period, this is the history and the elections we've gone by up until now.
Yeah, we have actually traveled a history that is worth mentioning, because we're told that the key thing is to know where you're coming from. Sure. Once you know where you're coming from, then you can know where you want to go. We have had a very, for me, a path that we cannot say has been good. The military had truncated our democratic processes so much so that it has affected the development of the whole process. For me, it's good that at least in 1992, we decided to throw all behind us and begin this process. I'm hoping that, well, it doesn't get truncated somewhere. Again. I don't dream about that at all.
No, absolutely. I also do not foresee that, but I think that it is something that we must, as a nation, collectively make an effort for it not to happen. You see, there are those who are preaching peace almost every now and then. There are those who are like, Ghanaians won't fight. We don't want to fight because we want to eat jollof the next day. So we are making light these issues. But I think it is a very important credential we should not take for granted. So yes, like you mentioned, the military rule dented the history of Ghana. But I think
democratic process.
Yes, the democratic process. But there are those who will disagree and say that it was a necessary intervention as of the time. You know, so I mean, give or take both sides, it is something that is part of the history. We should learn from it as we move forward into, you know, consolidating our democracy as a nation. We are quite good when it comes to the African continent generally.
Absolutely,
you know, so I think that we can do a lot more collectively, and multi-party democracy is very important. It's good. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We'll tell you more about that later on. But let's jump into the offices of the Electoral Commission, because the chairperson, Stakeholder, has reiterated the Commission's readiness to conduct a free, fair, and transparent election. At a news conference in Accra, she assured electoral materials have been dispatched to all constituencies countrywide.
The challenges that were occasioned during the special voting exercise were due to a number of factors. There were persons who did not transfer their votes when the transfer window was opened earlier in the year and wanted to use the special voting as an opportunity to transfer their votes to a constituency other than where they are registered. The law does not permit this. Also, some security agencies did not submit any list at all, and some of those who submitted lists provided incomplete data on their officers. So it was very difficult for the Commission to assign them to their right constituencies. In addition, not all officers were going to be deployed for polling duties on election day, and so were not intended for special voting. but a lot of officers turned up to vote whether their names were included in the special voters list or not. As a listening commission and in consultation with the political parties and the hierarchy of the security agencies, we added a second day for the continuation of the special voting exercise. So for people whose names were on the list and they had gone to the wrong constituencies on the first day, they were able to find their names on the list. If your name was not on the special voting list, it means that you are not intended to vote on special voting day, and so you would vote tomorrow. We have made adequate engagement, we've entered into adequate engagement with the security agencies so that personnel whose names are not on the special voting list, but who are taking part in election-related duties, would be deployed to work areas close to constituencies where they are registered, so that they can vote tomorrow and go about their duties. And when they get to the polling stations, our officers have been advised and they will be given priority at the polling stations. We're happy to announce that in spite of the challenges, there was an 80% turnout in the special voting exercise. And this is consistent with the turnout numbers we're expecting in this year's elections. We are deploying about 148,000 election officials to conduct the polls and to manage the collation centers. We are receiving support from about 64,000 security personnel to ensure a safe and peaceful environment for all voters to exercise their franchise freely and without intimidation. There would be a total of 70,709 biometric verification devices at use at the polling stations. There will be 2 BVDs per polling station with sufficient backups at the district offices to deal with any unexpected challenges with any of the devices. There will also be 4 technicians on standby in each of our district offices to respond rapidly to any technical challenges at a polling station. And we would have 20 technicians manning our 24-hour operations center at the head office to provide additional support. For this year's elections, we have accredited over 12,400 foreign and local observers. Now, everything is set for tomorrow. Every polling station requires about 97 different items for elections to hold. These include the presidential ballot papers, the parliamentary ballot papers, jackets for our staff, the tactile jackets for visually impaired people, the demarcation tapes, the voting screens, indelible ink, thumbprint pads, validation stamps. All those items have been delivered already to all the 216 districts of the country, and I think in some of the more remote areas, movement has started already.
All right. Alfred, for me, this is what I was expecting. It's been a period of anxiety, a period of uncertainty, a period of voters not knowing really what the situation is, or it was. But the Electoral Commission has come in to say that, look, everything is on course, every material has been sent there, it is all set, officers are there. In fact, the voter has been quite educated about what to expect. So for me, it was a good thing the EC spoke to the public, and I'm sure that it will go a long way to get the voter to
calm the nerves
and take that part of the process tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Rightly so, because if you recall, the plethora of court cases that preceded this period cast doubt about the Electoral Commission's preparedness as to whether they were going to be prepared to deliver a free, fair, transparent, elections come December 7th. We saw what happened during the two-phased special voting process. It already raised some issues about the preparedness of the Electoral Commission, but with this plan outlined by Madame Charlotte to say, if you are a go-ahead of election tomorrow, we can only say that we would complement their efforts tomorrow and see what happens. But quickly, we would want to cross over to the Election Command Center, where Bright Asempa and Winston Amwa, Stephen Anti already standing by to also do some analysis.
Joining me here, we still have Bright Asempa and Stephen Anti. We're finding out how prepared the Electoral Commission is for election 2016. It's about 8 hours to the commencement of voting. Bright, how prepared is the Electoral Commission?
Well, for me, Winston, I think that the Electoral Commission is well prepared for this year's election, and looking at the fact that they've been able to engage all the various stakeholders, especially the political parties, and for the very first time, we saw the EC actually coming out with the walk-in service that all the political parties can walk in at any time, specific times that they design that just come. Whatever questions you have to ask, we are well prepared to answer you. And the fact that they were able to also bring almost all the stakeholders together, and each and every time they talk to them, try to engage them, let them understand the processes of the election. Then again, let's be quick to mention that the Electoral Commission has said that every 2 hours they're going to engage the general public, you know, vis-a-vis their press conference to update us on what is happening. For me, I think that is going to help a lot. I don't know what you think.
I mean,
actually.
I think the commission has been at the receiving end of a lot of bashing. I mean, from the time the Let My Vote Count alliances decided to push for a new register, the commission has been there, received all the bashing, and through it all, what we have to know is that they've been consciously working to transform the electoral process, and we have to give them a credit. It's not easy. You know, staging reforms in our part of the world. So the commission has come out to do a lot of reforms. We have no choice than to trust the state institutions which are designated to do the job that we want them to do. So I feel that over and all, when we look at the fact that ballots have been transported already, the Electoral Commission is engaging the members of the public, is engaging IPAC. Of course, the few blips here and there, we look at the 2-day special voting, all the things that happened. The Electoral Commission has insisted that it cannot be blamed solely for that. Those whose names were not found in the special voters register and all of that. But overall, I think that the Electoral Commission has demonstrated that it is ready for this year's elections, and it is up to us to ensure that we give them the benefits of the doubt and trust the institution.
Stephen Asempa, are the parties helping the Electoral Commission? Yes, the Electoral Commission has done everything it has to do, but it is not only the Electoral Commission. What of the parties?
Well, I think at this point, they really don't have an option. The thing is that the referee in there is well prepared. Tomorrow, we're going into the election. What they have to do is just to make sure that they also live up to expectation. Now, what are the responsibilities of the parties? Just make sure that you're able to talk to your polling agents. Let them behave well. Let them go according to the rules of the game.
This is the only country
of course, this is the only country we have. So for me, I don't think they have any option now. The only option is that we, all of us as Ghanaians, we need to have that confidence in the Electoral Commission to deliver.
I have confidence in the Commission. I mean, the little criticism that we hear from Ghanaians and the political parties, I feel that is all towards ensuring that the best thing is done. Best means transparent elections. Things are done openly, you know. So for me, I would say that the parties have been pretty hard on the commission.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, especially the MPP. The MPP is in the opposition. It is trying very hard to win the election. So the least thing, they are unsettled. The least thing, they're not very sure. So I think that it's also because maybe they do not trust the commission well enough. But the campaign chairman, Peter Mark-Mano, has come out recently to say that they have full confidence that the Electoral Commission can deliver a credible election. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, sure.
That's exactly. That's definitely the way forward. Once the party's campaign chairman says, we have confidence in the Electoral Commission, what it does is that, you know, it calms the nerves of the party members.
It does.
Because the leaders are the ones who would say, we don't trust the Electoral Commission. Let's get out there. Let's get out there and engage in violence. For me, one good thing about the special voting exercise that gives me a lot of confidence in the Electoral Commission is that those who couldn't vote on the first day were given a chance to vote. That's very important, you see, because voting is a fundamental right enshrined in the 1992 Constitution. And what the Electoral Commission did was to give all of us the assurance that whatever happens, you would be given a chance to vote. And so that is very, very important. And so, for all the people who think that, we're challenged here and there, we cannot vote. Look, you can certainly vote. Just be relaxed. What matters is that you find your name in the register. Once you find your name in the register, you're good to go.
Well, that exactly. I mean, once there was at this point, any option. An electoral commission. The electoral commission is prepared, and we believe that the electoral commission will deliver to the best of its ability.
No, but seriously, I mean, if we look at the fact, I mean, I speak your crap.
It doesn't matter.
That's it.
So if we look at the fact that the special voting took place and 2 days, there are concerns that people who didn't find their names found their names on the second day, and some people who didn't find their names at all didn't find their names at all. So critical question is, do you think that this has the potential of affecting the outcome of the general elections? For example, that people could take advantage of that to do double voting.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The Electoral Commission stated categorically that if you voted in the special voting exercise like I did, your barcode has been deactivated. That's right. So you can't go back.
But I didn't vote on special voting.
Yes.
So
did you register?
You and I did
not. I did not register.
So you can vote
looking at the
tomorrow.
schedule that I had, I was confident that on voting day I could go to my polling center and cast my vote before coming on air to continue with the coverage. But my colleague who voted, when we text her voter ID number to 6363, it still indicated that her polling center is polling center A, polling center B. So at what point will we know that the barcodes have been deactivated?
Once you text, that's where your name is. You have your name there, but your barcode has been deactivated. So when you get in there, haven't checked your name, then they use the biometric verification device on the barcode. Then it tells you what finger to use in verifying. At that point in time, it will be pointed out to you that you voted already, because you wouldn't have your barcode there.
Exactly, but the only thing we have to do is to just relax. And tomorrow, we'll all be going to the polls.
I trust the Electoral Commission to do that
job. When you get there, if indeed your barcode has been deactivated, you will know.
You will know.
If it has not been deactivated.
But I mean, of course, if you voted and you're going to vote again, that's illegal, and you shouldn't do that. I cannot understand why anybody will vote and then go again and vote. I mean, that's whatever mindset will make anybody do that. Could be illiteracy, uneducation about the electoral processes, and if you're not patriotic enough, then you would want to do things like this.
But of course, desperation could also count. Somebody is desperate. I mean, to make sure that his or her political party wins. That could also be a factor.
There's always the perception by lots of voters that we can always beat the system. That's how it works. During the second day of the special voting exercise, there were some security personnel who went to the polling centers again, and they said, well, our indelible ink is fading, and so we want, to deepen it, more or less. Yes, they went there, they were patriotic citizens, they went in there. There are others who think that they can always beat the system, and that's why these measures have been put in place. And so, like Steve stated, don't think you can beat the system, because if the system beats you, you find yourself in jail.
So well, I mean, we have to go back to the news hub where Bright Nanamfo and Alfredo Kanse and Martin Asiedu-Dartey are on standby there. So this is your election command center. We are the nerve center of your election coverage, and you have to stay with us. Our social media line is active. So Bright Nanamfo, if you're there, I mean, we're discussing from our end the preparedness of the Electoral Commission to this year's the conduct of the elections. One of the critical things that is coming forward is whether you have a sense of thinking that the 2 days special voting could offer opportunities for people to want to beat the system by double voting and all of that. Do you see this possibility?
I see. Steve, Alfred, you see, I am absolutely confident that what happened on the 2 days is entirely different ball game altogether. You see, this is a set of people who whose names were taken from the original list.
Absolutely.
Now, the taking or the picking of the name from the list might have caused what we saw. I don't believe, or I don't want to believe, that tomorrow morning we could have the same situation where you go there and your name is not there. The original list is there. I am very, very sure. In fact, the Electoral Commissioners are sure that
they have given that indication.
Exactly, that we are not likely to see what happened at all.
Exactly, because there's two systems differently,
entirely different,
governing both elections. And so if you want to transfer what happened on the special voting day to be as an inference on what would happen on December 7th, they say two different exercises altogether, and the register that is going to be used on that particular day. Remember, the various agencies, security agencies, submitted the names of those who are going to be engaged on election day. So if you don't find your name, and it means that you're not going to be engaged on that particular day. But let's go back to the Electoral Commission, where it has begun dispatching electoral materials to the various constituencies across the country. Earlier on, I told you our Ashanti regional correspondent William Evans Incumbency earlier monitored the parliamentary candidates of the NPP and the NDC for Bantama as they supervised the Commission's deployment of electoral materials to the constituency.
Say that it's been a serious stuff ongoing here. 5,190 polling stations in 47 constituencies, and what is happening here is that they are sorting out the electoral materials that are almost ready to be sent to the various polling stations. I will be speaking to some of the parliamentary candidates who are actually here to monitor or supervise the whole exercise. Serious activities ongoing here. And let me just get closer. And in fact, I will be speaking to the parliamentary candidate for the NDC as far as Bantama constituency is concerned, and that of the MPP in the same constituency. So Mr. Daniel and then Honorable Yawaduse will join me very soon, and then we will be speaking to them. In fact, everybody is very much interested in whatever is going out here. Already I've made mention to you that they are sorting out the electoral materials, and then everybody is very much interested in this particular exercise. Well, let me start with Honorable Yawaduse. I'm sure you spent almost all your day here.
Yeah, we went to the police station as early as 6 a.m. to bring the ballot papers here to sort out, as is always done. And I think we started around 8 a.m. and we're done with the presidential, and we are now on the parliamentary. Maybe in 2 hours' time we'll be done with the parliamentary too, and then we can put them in the various boxes, seal them, and prepare them for the various polling stations in Bantama constituency.
All right, so whatever happens here, I mean, every single particular stakeholder is very much interested, and you can see their eyes directly on everything that they are doing. But let me speak to the MPP parliamentary candidate for the Bantama constituency. So I can see your eyes very close to, I mean, everything that is happening here with eagle eye.
Yes, obviously, this is what we need to do to make sure that we secure this election. Obviously, as you've heard rumors going around and stuff like that, and some of the things that we saw recently without unprinted and some of them not unprinted papers, that we want to make sure for us MPP, the goal is that we have to be very vigilant. We are not going to actually let anything go unlooked at. So we are looking at every step of the way to ensure that this election is won, without any problems. We want to make sure that the people's wish is actually, given. We don't want to elect any wrong president for the purpose of managing this country's affair. The people's will must actually stay. So we are monitoring every step of the way to ensure that that comes true. And we believe that we're going to win this election. Yes.
Thank you so much. So, vigilant is the word. Or when we spoke to Honorable Yawaduse, he also made mention of being vigilant. So what is happening here, as I mentioned to you earlier on, they are sorting out the electoral materials, and very soon they will be sent to Bantama constituency, where the exercise will begin. I've told you that we have a total of 5,190 polling stations in 47 constituencies as far as the Ashanti region is concerned, and as we move further to another annals of our democracy, we are expecting to see a very successful and then smooth polls as far as 2016 elections are concerned. This has been your Elections Command Center, and it will continue to be your Elections Command Center. We are going to give you up to speed but accurate information as they unfold from the Ashanti region. My name is William Ivansi. Can we go back to studios and join the team for more? Over to you, studios.
All right, so that's the situation in Bantama. Clearly, all is set for that particular constituency. The Electoral Commission has indicated that the materials have been dispatched. There's some critical areas where the dispatching of materials will be eventually ended by close of day today. And
as for the ready, queues are being formed at certain places around 7 p.m.
Yes.
And you know what you're doing there? People are
putting
forming
stones.
all kinds of receptacles
to secure their positions. But I just have to remind our viewers that this is a two-phase coverage of election 2016. We're bringing you a top-of-the-game coverage of election 2016 on your Election Command Center. So we have two specific studios dedicated for this coverage. So here at the News Hub and the Election Command Center, where Stephen Enti, Brighter Semper, and Wesley Damoa are there. The coalition and all the analysis will be coming
down there.
This is the coverage of election 2016 from the Media General platform, and we have given you a reason why we say we are your Election Command Center, bringing you top of the game coverage of election 2016 across all the platforms till the president is announced by the Electoral Commission. With barely 9 hours to the opening of the polls, some voters have begun queuing at the various polling stations across the country. Now, Peter Akufo-Addo has been out and about and reports voters in some polling stations in the Iowa East and Central constituencies have booked their positions with stones, benches, and other objects. The Nima Post Office polling station was our first spot of call. As you can see on your screens, here are some young men who were placing benches and cartons of boxes in readiness for Wednesday's morning polls. The Islamic Research Institute polling station also in Nima had stones and other materials carefully placed representing some voters. At the Accra Newtown Post Office, voters had also booked their positions, not only with stones, but with numbers. Now, in a related development, coalition centers within the two constituencies were busy with electoral officers, polling agents, sorting ballot materials ready for Wednesday's polls. So, in those two constituencies,
it's interesting.
That can be said for
I am not surprised at all. I am not surprised at all. In 2012, as at 6:30 p.m. on the eve of voting, we went to Teshi and other areas, and it was the same story. Stones and buckets and all kinds of receptacles were used in the queue for voters the next day. It tells you how the voter is excited about what is happening. Absolutely. And I am excited too, because then it says that we are part of the process. It's not a process that is far away from us. The voter is excited about choosing leaders, and I'm sure that we will end up getting a very good turnout. I see a lot of activity in town today in the evening, and on your screens now you can see the stones there.
Absolutely right, and you have sachet water bags,
and that's the numbers. That's number one.
Exactly.
So that's the first person.
Exactly. You're also representing the numbers. Isn't it wonderful? And this is one of the exclusive features of our democracy as a country, and how keen people are to partake in this very crucial democratic exercise of determining the future or the destiny of the nation for the next 4 years. And quite frankly, this is a reflection of how eager people are, as you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Also East and Central constituencies. And this, as we're told, is a case in some other places as well. We are hearing places as the Krowa constituency, some areas as well, with people also representing their positions with buckets and and some very interesting items, right?
It's exciting. It tells you that the Ghanaian voter is keen about this exercise. It's been a long period of campaigning, listening listening to the politician, getting to know what they have on offer. Now is the time for them to make the choice. And they don't want to be left out at all, because tomorrow, even though it's voting day, December 7, some people will need to go to work. And so if they can kill with stones and all kinds of receptacles and get there at 5 a.m. and be able to cast their ballot at 7 a.m., they can finish and go back to work and come back in the evening and get to know the results. So for me, it's good news there, seeing these persons showing that eagerness to be part of
and you know, the
process.
activities that have preceded tomorrow, December 7th, already created that level of enthusiasm and the interest in this particular election. We talked about the court cases and how impactful and how we would want to say strong the various campaigns were, and the issues that characterized the various political parties' campaign, and the issues that emanated from the Electoral Commission with the disqualifications and all. So people began to generate that interest. And for me, if you do the analysis over the period, I would wait to see the voter apathy and how the turnout will be.
It will be all right. I feel grateful. But it was a journey for some of the candidates who eventually got nominated as their party's flag bearers for the election. The NPP, the NDC, the CPP, the PPP, the PNC, and several of them went through the tough task of getting their supporters to nominate them to lead their parties into the 2016 elections. For the independent candidate, well, he might not have gone through any primary, but let's take you down the memory lane, how these candidates got the nod from their supporters to lead the various parties into the battle of 2016.
It first began on October 18 and 19, 2014 with the New Patriotic Party's primaries. Nana Akufo-Addo polled 117,413, representing 94.35% of total votes cast at the NPP's Delegates Congress to seal his third shot at the presidency. Nana Akufo-Addo defeated former Trade Minister Alan Kweju-Kyerematen, who polled 5,908 votes, representing 4.75% of total valid votes cast. Member of Parliament for Mampong, Francis Adainimo, polled 1,128, representing 0.91%.
Grateful and truly humbled by the massive confidence you have reposed in me. You have put an enormous responsibility on my modest shoulders. But I want to assure you that I shall do everything humanly possible under the guidance of Almighty God to justify your confidence.
On November 21, 2015, some 1.1 million members of the incumbent National Democratic Congress who voted in the party's presidential primaries endorsed the candidature of President John Dramani Mahama to lead the NDC in the 2016 general elections. The figure represents the view of 95.10% of NDC members who participated in the yes or no vote. Those who voted yes were 1,199,118, representing 95.10% of the total votes cast, whilst those who voted no were 61,836, representing 4.9% of the total votes cast.
I wish to declare His Excellency candidate John Dramani Mahama as the flag bearer of the NDC for the 2016 general elections.
We must all work to win the election of 2016. Because with the party's continued stay in power, I am certain that there will be enough responsibility to be placed on the shoulders of all of you to work for the good people of Ghana.
On January 30, 2016, former General Secretary of the Convention People's Party (CPP), Ivor Kobina Greenstreet, floored 3 candidates to emerge winner in the polls to elect a party's flag bearer. Mr. Greenstreet won at 3 out of 4 polling stations in an election that was tipped to go in favor of former party chair and daughter of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Samia Iyaba Nkrumah.
It is time for green. I have been with you not today. I have come to you more than once, more than twice, more than thrice. You are not my comrades. You are my family. You are my brothers. You are with me.
Certified results by the Electoral Commission officials put Mr. Greenstreet ahead by 1,288 votes, representing 64.2% of valid votes cast, while his closest contender, Samia Iyaba Nkrumah, managed 579 votes. 2 other contestants, Joseph Ejapong and Bright Akwete, obtained 83 and 42 votes respectively. Dr. Edward Nasegri Mahama was elected as flag bearer of the People's National Convention at a congress organized in the Upper West region on the 13th of December 2015. Dr. Edward polled 492 votes, 66 more than his closest contender and immediate past flag bearer of the party, Hassan Ayariga.
We have a lot of money to build clinics, schools, and roads. So we are prepared on assumption of office January 7, 2017 to go to the task of fighting corruption.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Electoral Commission, I do hereby declare Her Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo is duly elected as the flag bearer of the NDP.
The founder of the National Democratic Party, NDP, Nana Akufo-Addo was declared the presidential candidate to lead the party in the December polls. The declaration was made by a representative of the Electoral Commission at the party's conference held at the Trade Fair Center in Accra.
2012, I was talking about people over politics. And today, 2016, I will say it again, that I have never been one to do what is just popular over what is right. Because I am and will always be guided by a moral obligation to support the needs of the people over the interests of politics.
The one who has received the total endorsement of the Progressive People Party, Dr. Kwesi.
In May 2016, the National Committee of the Progressive People's Party endorsed Dr. Kwesi Nduom as the party's flag bearer for the 2016 elections. The decision to present the 2012 candidate again was arrived at in a meeting. The business magnate was the only person who picked forms when nominations were opened in 2015, hence the National Committee's decision. Dr. Nduom officially accepted the decision at the party's National Convention scheduled on July 16, 2016.
To everybody we say, don't waste your vote this time on people who promise a lot but deliver little. but the Progressive People's Party in government will change the narrow, winner-takes-all, parochial ideology fixation to governance in Ghana forever.
In April 2016, the independent candidate in the 2012 elections, Jacob Osei-Yeboah, declared his intention to stand again in the 2016 polls. Jacob Osei-Yeboah's shot at the presidency in 2012 saw him poll 15,156 votes, representing 0.14% of the total valid votes cast.
It will only take the independent presidential candidate to bring the best from MPP, NDC, CPP and all others for us to work as a team. It is not political parties that form government. No. No. It is that person who is elected as president. He forms the government.
So that's the recall of the presidential primaries and the popular acclamations and the confirmations and those who went solo and those who were contested eventually going into December 7, 2016. But let's start off with the profiles, and we're now going for the profile of the Progressive People's Party's presidential candidate, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom.
From Papa Kwesi Nduom. Emi Mifi Edna been from Elmina.
Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom, also named Joseph Hapster York Jr., was born in Elmina on Sunday, February 15, 1953. Dr. Nduom attended the St. Joseph's Catholic Boys' School in Elmina and the St. Augustine's Practice School in Cape Coast. It is during the sixth form period that his interest in democracy was awakened by a new arrangement for students to vote for their prefects. Dr. Nduom campaigned hard and was elected the school's protocol prefect for the 1972-73 academic year. He is the founder of the Progressive People's Party (PPP). A former member of parliament, he also held 2 ministerial portfolios. Under the Akufo administration, Dr. Nduom's active role in politics began in 1997 when he was elected as a member of the Commander Edina Eguafo-Ebrim District Assembly for the Akoto-Bensing electoral area. In December 2000, he contested the Ghanaian parliamentary elections for the Commander Edina Eguafo-Ebrim constituency on the ticket of the Convention People's Party. He lost to the incumbent member of parliament Kwesi of the National Democratic Congress by a margin of 2.6% of the valid vote cast. He was later appointed by President John Kufuor as the Minister for Energy. He also served during this period as the chairman of the National Development Planning Commission. In 2004, he contested once again for the Commander Edina Eguafo-Ebrim parliamentary seat and won with 33.6% of the valid votes cast. At the time, he served as the chairman of the organizing committee of the CPP. Early in President Kufuor's second term of office, Nduom became the Minister for Public Sector Reform. He continued in this capacity till July 2007 when he resigned from government to seek his party's nomination to stand as the CPP presidential candidate. Nduom lost the election, getting less than 1% of the vote. During the CPP party election of 2011, candidates reportedly supported by Kwesi Nduom, including then chairman Ladi Nylander, lost to newer candidates including Samia Nkrumah, daughter of Ghana's first president Kwame Nkrumah. Months later, Kwesi Nduom was accused by the Convention People's Party of going against the party's regulations. Kwesi Nduom subsequently issued statements, first asking his supporters to stop working against the party, then later issued a statement which, though did not talk of a breakaway, to all intents and purpose appeared to do so.
When the Convention People's Party opens its nominations next month to elect a presidential candidate, I will not participate in that process. In all human endeavors, it is important to know when to change course to obtain a positive result. I wish the CPP well as it seeks to chart the course announced by its new leadership. For me, this is the time to look forward and forward only to a new and different political order. I am here this morning to declare my resolve to work with like-minded men and women from all over the country to form a very focused, vibrant, independent-minded and progressive political movement to contest the 2012 presidential and parliamentary elections.
In January 2012, Kwesi Nduom formed his own party to contest the 2012 elections, the Progressive People's Party. The Electoral Commission on February 2, 2012 presented the final certificate of registration to the Progressive People's Party. The Progressive People's Party in the 2012 elections promised incorruptible leadership if voted into power. The party also advocated a 51% women participation in governance as Dr. Nduom went into the elections with Eva Loko as his running mate. Dr. Nduom lost the 2012 election with 0.591% of the total votes cast. Again, Dr. Nduom has settled on women's advocate and former beauty queen Bridget Dogbenuku as presidential running mate for the 2016 general elections. The EC rejected Dr. Nduom's nomination, claiming the number of subscribers to his forms did not meet the requirements of regulations. The commission said one of his subscribers endorsed the form with different signatures in both portions of the nomination form, raising questions as to the legitimacy of one of both signatures. But lawyers of the PPP argue that the EC did not give them the opportunity to correct the errors on the nomination forms. On October 28, an Accra High Court ordered the Electoral Commission to allow the presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Kwesi Nduom, to correct the mistake on his nomination papers. Back in the race, Dr. Kwesi Nduom wants the opportunity to implement an agenda for change when voted President of the Republic of Ghana. This agenda is built on 4 pillars: stewardship, education, healthcare, and jobs.
Leadership that is incorruptible must be found not just amongst people in government, it must be found among politicians, it must be found in business, it must be found in society in general, because we are not going anywhere as a nation if we can't find leadership that is incorruptible.
And that was a presidential candidate of the PPP. Now let's jump to the other side and look at the profile of the presidential candidate of the NPP, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who is seeking the presidency on his 3rd attempt.
To England to study for his O-level and A-level examinations at Lansing College, Sussex. He returned to Ghana in 1962 to teach at Accra Academy Secondary School before going to read economics at the University of Ghana, Legon in 1964, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in economics in 1967. He subsequently studied law in the UK and was called to the English Bar, Middle Temple in July 1971. Nana Addo was called to the Ghana Bar in July 1975. Nana Addo stayed in France for 5 years as a lawyer at the now defunct New York-based international law firm Kudai Brothers. Apart from the welcome exposure to the dynamics of international corporate transactions, his stay in France also made him fluent In 1975, he returned home to Accra to continue with his legal career.
Came back to Ghana and founded my own law firm. I got very much involved with Ghanaian politics in an early stage. I've been in politics ever since. Very dedicated to the struggle for democracy and to establish a country where the rule of law and respect for human rights are respected.
In 1992, he was the first national organizer of the NPP and later that year, campaign manager of the party's first presidential candidate, the late Professor Albert Dubois. In 1995, he led the famous Kumipreko demonstrations of the Alliance for Change AFC, a broad-based political pressure group which mobilized millions of people onto the streets of Ghana to protest the economic conditions of the Rawlings era.
We think it is time that the government began to fashion policies that address the needs of the people of this country, and that's what we want to do. And we're doing so by a very successful, peaceful demonstration that shows the best of the Ghanaian character. That's why we're here today.
Nana Addo was elected 3 times between 1996 and 2008 as Member of Parliament for the Buakwa South constituency in the eastern region of Ghana. From 2001 to 2007 as Cabinet Minister, first as Attorney General and Minister of Justice for 2 years, and later as Foreign Minister for 5 years. As Attorney General, he was responsible for the repeal of the criminal libel law. Ghana was elected by her peers to take the non-permanent West African seat of the UN Security Council for 2006 to 2007. In August 2006, Nana Addo chaired the meeting of the Security Council, which took the decision that halted Israel's massive incursions into Lebanon.
Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2006/640 please raise their hand. The result of the voting is as follows. The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 1701/2006. The meeting is adjourned.
In October 1998, Nana Addo competed for the presidential candidacy of the NPP and lost to former President John Agyekum Kufuor. Nana Addo resigned from the Kufuor government in July 2007 to contest for the position of presidential candidate for his party, the NPP, competing against 16 others. He won 48% of the votes in the first round of that election, but was given a unanimous endorsement in the second round, making him the party's presidential candidate. In the December 7, 2008 presidential race, he received in the first round more votes than the late John Evans Mills. In the first round, Nana Addo received 4,159,439 votes, representing 49.13% of the votes cast, placing him first, but not enough for the 50% needed for an outright victory. In the runoff, President Mills, the late President of the Republic of Ghana, received 4,521,032 votes, representing 50.23%, thus beating Nana Addo by the smallest margin in Ghana's and Africa's political history. Nana Addo accepted the results, helping to preserve the peace, freedom and stability of Ghana. Nana Addo contested in the 2012 national elections again against President John Mahama and lost. That election generated considerable controversy and was finally decided by the Supreme Court in a narrow 5-4 decision in favor of President John Mahama.
The Supreme Court of our nation has spoken. The result of the December 2012 presidential election has been confirmed as having been won by the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, President Mahama. As I said earlier, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict, so we can all move on in the interest of our nation.
In March 2014, Nana Addo announced his decision to seek his party's nomination for the third time ahead of the 2016 election. He secured an unprecedented landslide victory of 94.35% of the votes in the party's presidential primary on October 2014 in a contest of 7 competitors. He is married to Rebecca Akufo-Addo, and together they have 5 daughters and grandchildren.
He is a very, very strong personality, and he can handle pressure very, 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 very well.
I remember that as a child, one of the most important things for him was that we were constantly reading, constantly expanding our knowledge.
For my dad, he's always, taught me about believing in yourself and relying on what your morals and your principles are.
So that's the profile of the NPP's presidential candidate, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I still have here with me Bright Asempa and Stephen Enti. So, Steve, what do you make of Akufo-Addo's chances in the elections?
I don't know about chances, but the two leading parties are going head-to-head, the NDC and the NPP. And they both won elections. The party won elections before. And to think that Nana Addo has lost 2 elections and it's going in the 3rd time, it's nerve-wracking. I can't honestly say between him and NDC or PPP or any of the contestants, one has a better chance. I don't know. I mean, when we look at Papa Kwesi Nduom, he has been doing well, gaining ground in the northern region. Political analysts would like to say that he's not yet strong enough to be that 3rd force, but you never know. This is an election that can spring up surprises. You overheard the president in the campaign saying that we have fought this election as if we are in opposition. That tells you that it's something that everyone is fighting for. MPP is fighting for it. NDC is fighting for it. So I would say, from my perspective, that they're all going in equal chance.
Well, Winston said Steve McKay, actually, I decline from talking about their chances for now because now,
are they own person be chances now?
And
no, spring be mana.
Maybe I bet me for more personalities, so we can talk about the personalities of the candidate. But as for their chances, we have barely 8 hours,
and we don't have the credible facts to be able to. Yeah.
But at least the enemy said on Dankwa Akufo-Addo or back for the 3rd time, and OGDA, and also this year why campaign. Why campaign? I mean, let's give him that credit.
And this is a book campaign.
No, and this
I mean,
we'll
show numbers now.
No,
numbers, campaign numbers now.
I know we are a campaign.
But John got a delegate.
I know we are a campaign.
But at least, you said Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom. But so far, information about us on also born in various regions. We talk about northern region, we are born in central region, we are Kwesi. Why not be able to capture a lot of votes? But
that's right. I tell you what, if this were in 2008, we could confidently say, okay, going a 3rd time, it looks easy for Nana Akufo-Addo. But 2012 taught us something. Before 2012, nobody had contested elections for the first time, apart from Rawlings, who transitioned from a military ruler into a civilian ruler and won. John Mahama broke that. Now there's something.
But John Mahama went on the back of a sympathy vote because Mills died.
That's the point.
I mean, it was like Mills' term had to be continued. So it was itself an advantage. It didn't mean he didn't work hard. No, he worked hard. He toured every part of the country in the short time he had.
Steve, that advantage worked for him. 2, no sitting president in Ghana in the Fourth Republic sought a second term and lost. No party within the Fourth Republic also has won more than 2 elections. Okay? So that's where it becomes dicey. And tomorrow will determine. I'll leave it at that.
Yes, of course. With what Winton is saying, I mean, if you really think about that and think about that carefully, you realize that, of course, what you are saying, it makes a lot of things. But then again, let's look at the dynamics. You're talking about no single party has gone into election, you know, for the 3rd time and won. We know that the NDC is in government. Yes, they've done 8 years. So obviously, I mean, it's like, yes, once you've done the 8 years, let us say goodbye to you. But
and His Excellency president also lost elections.
Of course.
Add that one to
yes,
it. And then
I'm coming to that. Of course, His Excellency is seeking for the 2nd term, you know, so that's also
a point.
We have to look at.
And that's what I said. So that's why I say that it's very, very dicey. Yes. And that's why you can't easily predict who's going to win this election.
But for me,
no, I am not. No, you see, because we're talking about the chances here, and that's where for me it becomes very difficult to just sit back and say this is how it's going to be. The best thing Papa Kwesi Nduom can do is to pull the election into a 2nd round. That's the best thing he can do. I mean, we all do know that he's not going to win this election.
Do you think he can? Do you think he can? As we speak now, is it very obvious he can?
I have a feeling that he could, and I have another feeling that says whoever would win this election would just win it one touch. And for me, the reason why I want it also to be one touch is the obvious reason. Man has got to rest. Man has got to rest after the election.
Election Command Center. We're live on 3FM 92.7, Connect 97.1 and Audio 95.1 FM. We're also streaming live on Facebook.com/News on TV3. If you're active on Twitter, our Twitter handle is News on TV3. It's now the turn of the President of the Republic of Ghana, who is the presidential candidate for the National Democratic Congress. Let's now go and hear his profile.
President John Mahama was born in 1958 into a wealthy, prominent family of politics and commerce. His childhood was a lesson in respect for people, cultures, and varying opinions. As a boy in Damongo, he was seen to be intelligent, smart, empathetic, discerning, assertive, with an eye, ear, and nose for something new and innovative. Having made it through his primary and secondary education in Achimota and Tamale Senior High School, respectively, he proceeded to further his education with a postgraduate diploma in psychology at the Institute of Social Sciences in Moscow. His deep understanding of the issues, the people it affects, and his Nkrumah's visionary leadership are products of his upbringing, education, and self-reflections on politics and the love of country.
My father has been my mentor. He's the one responsible for who I am. And while he was alive, he was my chief advisor. You know, once I started my political career, I mean, he gave me a lot of wonderful advice. He narrated his experiences to me.
Mr. Mahama, upon his return to Ghana, worked as the Information, Culture and Research Officer at the Embassy of Japan. His entry into politics as a Member of Parliament for the Bole Bamboy constituency marked a rise that continues unabated.
My brothers have been very supportive and throughout my political career, not just because of the vice presidency. Actually, they encouraged me to run for parliament. They were part of the conspiracy that got me into parliament.
3 terms he served Bole Bamboy. Through hard work, dedication to his constituents and the Republic of Ghana, he has risen to the highest office of the land while staying humble. He has served as Deputy Minister and Substantive Minister for Communication, Parliamentary Spokesperson for Communications, Director of Communications for the NDC, Deputy Chairman of Public Committee for the reintroduction of the Value-Added Tax, Member of the Pan-African Parliament and Chairperson of the West African Caucus, Minority Spokesman for Foreign Affairs, Vice President and eventually President of the Republic of Ghana, following the untimely death of Professor John Evans Atta Mills. His candidature as Vice President changed Ghanaian politics as unexpected and yet refreshing.
Professor Mills has named Honorable John Dramani Mahama as his vice presidential candidate for the 2008 elections.
The story is told of how Lordina Mahama cried at the news of Mr. Mahama being considered for the position of vice presidential candidate. In her estimation, it was time for him to take a rest. But such is the story of all great men. Destiny weaves a crown of glory, and when a seat looks like a rest, destiny makes it a throne for service. The admiration in the eyes of the First Lady and the whole family when they look at Mr. President is almost touchable. The fourth John, elected as fourth leader of the Fourth Republic, first president born after independence and whose presidency was finally secured by a 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court of Ghana in a landmark case. As a family man, Mr. President has been exceptional in nurturing both biological and adopted children.
The president has been really good to me, I can't lie. He's been a father figure to me. He actually calls me my son. Every time he sees me, he's like, my son. Sometimes he even calls me and says, Kofi, how are you doing? You've not come around, how is it? Maybe I had traveled, so I hadn't really been in touch and stuff. So I have a pretty good relationship with him. If I need something in terms of working, and I speak to him, he's very quick to assist and point me in the right direction. He always advises me and things that he feels will be good for me in terms of my career path, and he supports me.
His faith in God and his deep sense of love and care for family, coupled with the love and support of his backbone and wife, is what has kept him and his family going.
My dad passed away when I was 23 years old. After he passed, it was very difficult for me because, I mean, I only kind of knew him as him, and I felt like my world had really come to an end. And I think everybody would kind of feel that way, I mean, being in that kind of predicament. That's why also sometimes I say His Excellency was there for me, because he actually took me in and I told him, he asked me, what do you want to do? I said, look, I want to go back and do my master's and stuff. He goes, okay, no problem. I'll send you back to the UK. I went back to London, went back to school. I just went and buried my head back into my books just to, have some sort of purpose of what I want to do with myself.
As a chairman of ECOWAS, President Mahama faced the challenge of confronting the deadly Ebola virus, which claimed the lives of 11,310 people, according to the WHO. As the disease ravaged through the West African states, President Mahama took the bold decision as a chair of ECOWAS to accept the establishment of the UN Ebola Emergency Response Unit in Accra. Though 28,616 Ebola cases were reported in Guinea, Liberia and Sierra Leone, more than 10,000 survived. Ghana did not record a single case. This singular bold decision by John Dramani Mahama helped the West African countries, which had faced travel restrictions and closures of borders to neighboring countries.
It's affected our people not only in terms of the deaths and casualties that have occurred, but also in terms of the humanitarian disaster that it has created.
John Dramani Mahama was also appointed as co-chair of eminent persons to champion SDGs to support the Secretary General in his effort to generate momentum and commitment to achieve the SDGs by 2030. The sterling endorsement received by him on behalf of the people of Ghana from ECOWAS, United Nations, heads of state and leaders of government are testament to the character of a man loved for his ability to appreciate the unique concerns of peoples from all over the world.
Africa does not need your sympathy or overseas development assistance. Africa needs a fair chance to trade with the rest of the world and amongst ourselves. Ghana is a leading democracy in Africa. I stand before the world to declare that just as we have done in the past, my country will go to the polls this December. And the processes before, during, and after will mark a further consolidation of Ghana's credentials as a leading world democracy.
John Dramani Mahama, the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and the hoister of Ghana's flag of hope, vision and resilience in the face of adversity, avails himself once again to the people for a chance to continue to serve.
Right, so a pretty interesting profile of the President, John Dramani Mahama. So, Winston and Bright, John Mahama. John Mahama, he's a sitting president. He offers a very strong candidature for the NDC going into the elections against the opposition MPP.
He is. And, you know, he's been, I mean, every sitting president campaigns on what they have done and what they will do in future. It's more like, look at what I have done and use that as a yardstick to vote for me for a second term. What has he done? It's there for people to see. They'll be the judges. Infrastructure really influences how people vote. And many people have attested to the fact that if there is one thing you would say the president has done very well, it's in the area of infrastructure. Of course, people have raised issues about value for money, but for the ordinary voter... But
is it really proving that infrastructure influences people to vote in particular directions?
It does.
I mean, the MPP lost the elections in 2008, despite having done quite a number of things, really. That's the argument.
So that tells you...
Did it influence negatively or positively?
But you see, that tells you that maybe the NPP didn't do a lot of infrastructure like they said they did. Because if you're a member of parliament, you are judged at the end of the day by, hold on, by one, what you have done by way of infrastructure and how you relate with the people. These two really matter. And if we get to the constituency specifics, I'll tell you one thing, because in one constituency, Wild West, for instance, the incumbent member of parliament is facing a huge challenge because the people say he hasn't done anything by way of infrastructure, even though MPs are supposed to be making laws. So the infrastructure bit helps. There are a lot of factors that determine who becomes president. It is just not infrastructure. So then comes in issues of corruption, issues of value for money, and issues of how well the economy is doing. Yes, there's the infrastructure, but do people have jobs? These things. And for me, this year's elections will be fought on who is the best candidate to provide jobs for the electorate. President Mahama has a chance. He's the incumbent. He has a lot to show. He could look around and say, I have done this, I have done that. But the question is it enough? What about the curse of incumbency? The fight against corruption. These are issues, and also the issue of unemployment. These are things voters will be looking at, and so they'll be the better judges.
Right. We'll take a break here, and when we return, we'll continue our discussion. Bright will join in and share views about what would shape the electorate's choices as they go to cast their ballots tomorrow. This is the Election Command Center, and we're live on Facebook.com/NewsOnTV3, and if you're active on Twitter, you can send us a tweet at NewsOnTV3 as well. We'll be back.
I am so glad I found bio oil. I've only been using it for a few months, and already my scar looks so much better. From now on, I'm always going to have a bottle at home.
The Election Command Center. Get ready for the most authoritative, comprehensive, and credible coverage of Election 2016 on TV3, 3FM, Onuya FM, Connect FM, Akuma FM, and online as well as on your mobile. This is your Election Command Center.
Worship Throne. This and every Sunday at 10 a.m. only on TV3. Don't miss it.
Everything you need to know. Captivating. Reliable.
President Mahama, who addressed a Debar of chiefs and people of
credible and breaking news, all at your fingertips.
Who's found Asamoah Gyan? Super finish!
Being on top of the news has never been easy. Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
This is a warning to all the bad men out the road. Sex a diva, me I bring the fever, you better know. Well, yeah.
A new tune for the girl, another new dance anthem. Can dance Shakira Kaida, from Lagos burn to Ashiyama.
Polo swag and a chick.
When my people see me, then they holler.
Shabba, 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 shabba.
Now dance to the beat.
Check it like the GH flavor. I'm Adam, aka Go Get 'em, aka Special Delivery. Let's go.
GH Flavor, Thursdays at 4 p.m. only on TV3.
TV3, first in news, best in entertainment.
This is your Election Command Center. We are the NEF Center for your election coverage for the 2016 general elections. We're still doing an analysis of John Dramani Mahama, and you were talking about the curse of incumbency and the kinds of things that are likely to influence voters to make a decision for or against a particular incumbent administration.
Yes, I mean, once you are the ruling government, you're expected to do a lot of things. Yes, you have the advantage to say, I have done this and I have done that. But when you say, I will do this, the question is, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done the things you want to do? Then comes the issues of corruption. Okay, so every incumbent government has to deal with a curse of something. And this government has to deal with a curse of corruption, a curse of unemployment. Now, the World Bank says that 48% of the Ghanaian youth is unemployed. How is the government dealing with that? You've had talks of when we come in, when you vote for us again, these are the things we're going to do. And the response has been, why haven't you done these things that you're promising us? Of course, you've had a response of, we can't do everything. We've been laying the foundation. So the presidency, the president would have to deal with a case of incumbency, and I'm sure Asempa will be telling us more about how he has to deal with jobs and all of that, my brother.
Right, so let's hear from you.
Well, exactly. Picking it from where Winston actually landed, he was talking about infrastructure. Indeed, the president believes that he has undertaken quite a number of developmental projects, infrastructure-wise. I mean, as they say, evidence-based is there for Ghanaians to see. And then again, he's been talking about the infrastructure creating jobs, direct and indirect, for the ordinary Ghanaian. But the question is, how sustainable are they? Now, moving forward, the president has also been talking about the fact that indeed he is a unifier, and he believes that that alone gives him the edge, to have the majority of the vote to continue the next 4 years. Let's see how that pans out. But I believe that the key determinant in this year's election will be the personality of the candidate. I mean, we should also.
So you think the personalities are
the personality of the
critical
candidate? I mean, the ordinary Ghanaian will go to the polls tomorrow. Look at the personality of the candidate. I mean, put them on a scale of preference. Look at this one, Dr. Kwesi, Nduom, Ivor Greenstreet. Look at Nana Rawlings, Dr. Nasigri Mahama, of course, Joy, Jacob Osei-Yeboah. If you accept my biases, of course, that's my favorite candidate, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama.
So that's how you're voting?
You say?
That's how you're voting?
No,
like
Joseph
Osei-Yeboah. You're voting Jacob Osei-Yeboah.
He's always been my man. I'm not saying I'm voting Jacob Osei-Yeboah.
But if he's your man, why won't you vote for him?
Okay, of course.
You like the policies he brings on the table.
I mean, Jacob
so you're voting for him?
Jacob Osei-Yeboah.
So you're voting for him?
Can I answer the question?
Yes, please.
So of course we should also be looking at the personality of the candidate. Once, Ghanaians would.
I disagree with the personality, but I think it will be jobs. It will be jobs.
Well,
it will be jobs.
Right,
jobs,
personality, infrastructure. So there are quite a number of things that are likely to influence your decision come tomorrow. You would have to make that choice for yourself. But school children are asking for an election devoid of violence. Nana Rabna Kwesi has the following report.
Women and children are the most affected when violence occurs during elections. In the wake of many controversial soundbites from the various campaigns over the last 6 months, children may have noticed and expecting that their parent will be more responsible in their conduct.
Election day. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote. Tomorrow you are going to vote. Tomorrow you are going to vote.
Per the response, it was obvious school children had some knowledge about the 2016 elections. Ahead of the polls, this is what the kids had to say.
I want to tell my family that if they are going to vote, they should not fight because Ghana is a peaceful country. After voting, we should all go to our various houses. Parents, do not fight. Dear parents, let peace reign. When we are going to vote, we should not fight against one another.
In an interview with TV3, some teachers told our news team that kids had been psyched.
We told them we are going to have voting tomorrow, and then this place is actually a polling station. Therefore, people will be coming around to exercise their franchise. Therefore, they would have to stay at home and also relax and watch how the voting system goes.
As the country heads to the polls on December 7th, school children have only one message for all Ghanaians, that peace should remain paramount. From the Pentecostal Center School here in La Paz, this is Rabna Kwesi, TV3 News.
The Election Command Center, the NEF Center of coverage for this year's election. So kids and peaceful elections. Right, I'll start from you. I mean, I'm happy my kids didn't have to go to school on election day,
of course.
despite the Education Service did not announce a holiday. But kids have a right to peaceful environment, and their call for violent-free elections. Do you think the politicians will listen to it?
Well, I think let's talk about the Ghana Education Service. Finally, they called on all the schools, to make sure that they shut down so that the teachers themselves will actually be polling assistants or electoral officers, whatever, can actually undertake the exercise with that kind of...
That's good news.
Yeah, sure. So kids will not be going to school, but it's a good call. I mean, we need peace. But people have been saying you cannot talk about peace without justice. Of course, if you're talking about peace, there should be justice.
That's the Rastaman philosophy.
Whichever way, we need peace. I mean, we don't have an option. We need to maintain the peace of the country. So for me, if you were watching us this evening, what we can tell you is that tomorrow, if you go to the polls, just make sure you do what is expected of you. Just vote, you know, and once you finish voting, you make sure that if you have to go and come, of course, I mean, nobody's preventing you from coming to watch how the ballots will be counted. But make sure you don't do anything untoward, because the laws are there and they will deal with you.
Well, talking about if you vote and you have to go, if you vote, go and come back. Don't stay there. When you're done voting, don't stay there. Go. I mean, when
you cannot mass up at the
you don't need to do that. When I mean,
no, but some people want to be spectators. I mean, they want to see who are coming to vote. I mean,
you have polling agents.
Yes, of course.
So if you're a member of a political party, you have polling agents. Just do that. So the most important thing is that when there's violence and when there's mayhem, the children are the ones who suffer most. And so I'm particularly excited that these young ones are calling, you know, on the elderly ones to be mindful of the fact that they also have a future. Maybe if you don't care about yours, they care about theirs. So think about theirs and do not engage in violence. Is the right call.
Right, once more, thanks very much. So let's now cross over to studio, the news hub, where Alfred Akansa is standing by. So Alfred, kids and their call for a violent-free election. This is absolutely a good call. I mean, as adults, we all have a role to play, don't we?
Absolutely, we do, Stephen, and rightly so, just as all of you have been saying there. We're going to vote to secure the future of these young people, these children who have been talking and urging that we need peace before, during, and after election 2016. And they're imploring on older people who are supposed to know what is right to ensure that the right thing is done. Go cast your ballot, go cast your vote, go home, listen to the various radio stations and also the television stations as well, and specifically your election command center. We're also live on radio and on television, online as well. We're fully covered. We have our eyes on almost all the 29,000 polling stations across the country and the 275 constituencies across the country. But we have in mind what happened in Chiripone yesterday, and also we're hearing unconfirmed reports of some gunshots in Posiga, a place called Natinga, and as a result, we tell you about the almost 65,000 security personnel deployed. And Ghana Police Service has said that it's well positioned to ensure a violent-free elections. During a tour of some security installations of the Ghana Police Service, officials of the Joint Operations Center indicated their willingness to clamp down on false publications on social media.
The Joint Operations Center comprises officers from the military, the police, fire, and immigration services. They are mandated to monitor, analyze, and deliberate on effective ways of dealing with possible violence that may occur in the various polling centers across the country. As part of efforts, the center has instituted a call center where one officer is assigned to each region to coordinate effective communication between officers on the ground and the head office. The service has also demarcated a helipad where helicopters will be stationed to fly officers in an emergency situation. Superintendent Cephas Atta is the public relations officer of the Ghana Police Service.
Personnel who are standing by or personnel who are even about to be deployed, they come here to await their deployment. So when the buses and cars are ready, it deploys them. And when they are also standing by, this is where they will be resting at the national headquarters. This is to show the Ghanaian populace that the police and the assistant security agencies are adequately prepared for this election. And with the support of the public, we are in a position to secure this election, to ensure that everything comes and passes without any incident.
Director of Operations of the Police Service highlighted plans for the identified flashpoints.
We have deployed to all the regions, but much more to the potential hotspots. The local people, in other words, the regional commanders and the district commanders have deployed there. But in addition, we have also deployed people to certain locations in the past 24 hours, which is unique, which we have not done before.
head of the police social media team affirmed the service has acquired the software that would aid in tracking false information.
The Ghana Police Service maintains a unit, a cyber crime unit. This unit is a specialized unit that can track and investigate cases on the social media. Once we come into contact with any issue that is of criminal nature, quickly refer to that unit, and the unit takes up the investigations.
So that's the assurance from the Ghana Police Service there. But beyond that, the Electoral Commission has also announced or put out some emergency numbers that you out there can call and also report to them any anomaly that you observe or you witness at the various polling stations. So those are the numbers on your screen: 0800 818818, 0800 818818, and 0303 968750, 0303 968750, and also 0303 976568, 0303 976568. Those are the three numbers that you can call the Electoral Commission if you observe anything untoward or abnormal at the various polling stations across the country. Just keep these numbers in mind. But the electoral officers at Ododo constituency have identified 2 ballot booklets where the serial numbers are not in sequence. Now, according to the electoral officers, the 2 booklets have been set aside and will not affect tomorrow's elections.
There has been 2 booklets so far. The serial numbers do not follow. So you see on the front page, the range from the beginning to the end is put there. But when you go inside, that is not what you see.
Is that not going to have any impact on tomorrow's casting of ballots?
Looking at it, not following the sequence, we are actually setting that aside. And then we look at the police station who will be having that, call the presiding officer, explain the situation to him, so that she or him who will be there will handle the situation appropriately.
They have put it in an envelope and they have written error on it, which have been sealed. And normally the envelope, when you seal it, you cannot open it easily. So we are really monitoring everything. So we
are not leaving anything to chance, not this time around. We are extremely vigilant and we are doing everything we can to make sure the process is fair and transparent.
Right, so the alertness of these officers, Alfred, I think is what we need now. Already some 2 booklets were told being gotten there.
Don't follow, and I think that they must be commended for this, because Ododo constituency is a hotbed of political activity. Prior to election 2016, December 7th, we were there when we did the constituency debates. We suffered our own share of the violence over there. And so in the sensitivity of that constituency, and what happens there or what's expected to happen, you already know the police service has linked that place also as a hot spot, or where to look out for. So I think that it's good that this came up to be able to solve the situation even before.
All right, so let's take it out of the studios here. People are trying all they can to get out of Accra and other cities to where they can cast their ballots there. Kwesi is out there and he will fill us in on exactly where he is and what is happening. Kwesi, we're grateful for your time. We know that people are struggling to get out of Accra to other places, Kumasi, Takrady, the Cape Coast, and up north to cast their ballot. What exactly is the situation where you are at the moment?
And also powered by
I Rush energy drink, energy non-stop. Now, if you've been watching our previous bulletin our previous bulletins in the day, then I'm sure you are aware of how stranded passengers who intended traveling to various destinations across the country were at the various transport stations. Now, we are back here again at the VIP bus terminal to find out if indeed that situation has improved. I have with me here few of the passengers that I'm going to talk to find out how frustrating the whole situation has been like for them. Good evening, sir, and welcome to TV3 News.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, please, my name is Kwabena. What's your name?
My name is Stephen Asamoah.
Okay, for how long have you been here?
About 3 to 4 hours ago.